Never mind, let's just do it. So we've got 7, -11 for sides. If you do Pythagorean theorem, you should get 170 for your hypotenuse. And then you should be able to write all of your things. So the one thing I noticed on the quiz was kind of people getting things mixed up a little bit about maybe what opposite and adjacent were. So whatever is on the x-axis, this side here is always going to be the adjacent side. No matter what quadrant you're in, it's on the x-axis, because what adjacent means is that it touches, it's next to the angle. Okay? And so, and if this is our reference angle here, across from it is going to be opposite. And hypotenuse has to be across from your right angle. So hypotenuse has got to be that one. Okay? So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And I want to talk a little bit about radicals today, because that was, I know, the one thing on the last problem that threw people off was it was written a little bit differently than they expected. Cosines adjacent. And then we've got tangent. And then we've got reciprocal. So cosecant, the reciprocal of sine. And one thing about this, if there's one negative sign in here, then it doesn't matter where you put it. So I tend to just always write it out front if it's a negative answer, because I realize it's -11. If you put the square root of 170 over -11, that's fine if you keep it in the bottom. But I just tend to kind of say it's negative and put that out front. Doesn't matter. You have one negative sign somewhere. And then secant, same thing. Reciprocal of cosine and cotangent. Reciprocal of tangent. So questions about those at all? Okay, now the one thing I wanted to talk about before, because this will probably help if you're looking at answers in the back of the book, they probably in the book wouldn't leave an answer like this. Okay? Not because it's wrong, but because they tend to not leave radicals in the denominator on the bottom. And if you were taking like an SAT or some kind of standardized test, where like college entrance exam maybe, they probably wouldn't give this as an answer choice because it's not considered, you generally don't leave radicals in the bottom. You do something called rationalize the denominator, which means no radicals down below. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I'm not sure people remember, maybe from Algebra 3, how to do that. So let's say we look at that answer that we got. And we got an answer of, -11 over the square root of 170. So let's say it was like a test, it's multiple choice. You get that answer, but you don't see any of those answer choices, because that's probably not how they'd have it. Do you remember how to get rid of the radical on the bottom? Yeah, multiply top and bottom of the fraction by whatever that radical is. So if I multiply top and bottom by whatever that radical is, I can multiply top and bottom of a fraction by the same number. That's legal, right? Even if it's radical. And so that would give me an answer. I have -11 times the square root of 170, and that just is what it is on top. It's a number times a radical. I don't really do anything with it. But down here, the square root of 170 times the square root of 170 is 170. Okay? Harder to see maybe with big numbers like what we had, but like if we try it with something smaller. Do you agree that square root of 2 times square root of 2 is the same thing as the square root of 4? But that's just 2, right? So basically, if you have the square root of a number times itself, it is just the number. Okay, so same thing here. Square root of 170 times square root of 170 is the whole number 170. So that's how you'd probably see the answer written on like a standardized test. If it's a test where I say, tell me what the sign is, and you write this, I am perfectly fine with that. But when it comes to like multiple choice stuff, they might have it written in a different form, which is the same as your answer, just written kind of differently. Okay, and that's probably how you see them in the back of the book if you're checking the answers and things.